Your time with Deputy Boyd Barrett. I have no personal animosity towards ex-Minister Naughton, but if what the Taoiseach is saying is correct, and I have no reason to believe that it isn't, then his position was, in my opinion, completely untenable. The idea that he had multiple private dinners with Mr McCourt and didn't disclose them to the public or to this House on the multiple occasions that he was asked about his contacts with Mr McCourt meant that his position is untenable. It raises a much broader question about the relationships between the economic elites in this country and the top politicians, or some top politicians, and their ability to have access to those politicians. In my opinion, it definitely raises questions in relation to Minister Breen. I think the Taoiseach referred to Minister Breen having organised the dinner. Did Minister Breen also attend that dinner with then Minister Naughton and Mr McCourt? The Taoiseach referred to the need to put the public interest first. I think above all that relates to the question of broadband. And the way to put the public interest first in relation to the National Broadband Plan is to call a halt to the fiasco that has been this process. It's utterly failed from the point of view of delivering value for money, delivery of access to broadband for people in rural areas. It should have been provided from the very start as a public utility, provided by a public body. That is the process that should now take place. The other fiasco that now should be put out of its misery, in my opinion, is the government. The government now has no effective majority. If Fianna Fáil abstain, and if the so-called independents vote against, and if Minister Naughton comes to the opposition side, the government doesn't have a majority. We know from what happened last week in terms of the budget that the government also has no orientation to dealing with the fundamental crisis facing people in this country, which is the housing crisis. That's why they passed a landlord's budget. It's why they did effectively nothing in terms of the question of social housing. So in my opinion, this Dáil should now pass as quick as is possible the abortion legislation, and then it should be dissolved. We should have an election and we should let the people decide.